You guessed it. It's time for another video about Balaam's talking jackass. Not this donkey. This jackass.
Hello. Hello,
donkey. Let's listen to this jackass bray. And let's debunk his bunk.
And finally, number one, no first century secular evidence whatsoever exists to support the actuality of Yeshua ben Yosef. And Terrico backed this up with a quote from Bart Erhman.
What he's saying is that, have you ever noticed, Matt Little Honey, these atheists, how come they're so happy? It makes a day to believe that there was no Jesus. But they have no problem believing that there was a historical Buddha. Or but how come they so badly want to believe Jesus was not a historical person? I've heard tell that no serious if you go into a scholarship convention and you say that Jesus never existed, they'll laugh your ass out of the convention. But let's listen to this jackass, what he's got to say.
Who holds, that Jesus was a historic person, but yet he says, even if we include the entire first century of the Common Era, there is not so much as a solitary reference to Jesus in any non-Christian, non-Jewish source of any kind.
So, Aron Ra is using this quote. He's quote mining Bart Erhman to say that Jesus never existed. But, I'm not going to fall for your bullshit. I'm not going to take your ass at face value. When I can go to Bart Erhman himself. And let's listen to what Bart Erhman has to say about whether Jesus was a historical person or not.
And so you have these various kinds of criteria that you would use for any historical figure that you use for Jesus. And when you do that, then the question is, what can you say about it? There are some things that I would say 99% of everyone who studies this intently would agree on. I mean, basically, Jesus was from Galilee. He was of the northern part of what we think of as Israel. Came from a small town named Nazareth. He was lower class. He was he became a teacher. He left home to engage in an itinerant preaching ministry. He had people who followed him around, who thought that he was a very important teacher, possibly a prophet, possibly a Messiah. The last week of his life, he went to Jerusalem to proclaim his message, and he got on the wrong side of the law and apparently offended Jewish authorities there, and was turned over to Roman authorities who considered him a troublemaker and had him crucified for claiming to be the future king of the Jews. That much almost everybody would say, and there's a lot more things that people would say, but that.
So according to Bart Erhman, 99.9% of scholars agree Jesus was a historical person. And yet we have this talking brain jackass using Bart Erhman. That was just in case you didn't know. This is Bart Erhman right here. Right here, that man. That bald man. And you see the name of the video by Bart Erhman. And look at this misquote. Now, he's quote mining Bart Erhman to try to use what Bart Erhman said to bolster his claim that there is no historical Jesus.
That basic structure is one that almost everybody would agree on.
Is it odd that we don't have contemporary references to Jesus? So even if most people were illiterate, which I think is a well-agreed fact, if there was an itinerant preacher wandering around the wilderness causing unrest, would we not expect the Roman authorities to write about him, or is this our modern sensibilities of Jesus is this much of an important person? He must have been this much of an important person in the ancient.
Yeah, I think that is a modern. I think that is a modern sensibility, because it just kind of makes common sense to us that if somebody is an important figure, they'll make the newspapers and it's around for centuries, and so it all makes sense to us. It didn't work that way in the ancient world. We don't have contemporary records about most anyone in the ancient world. I mean, you just think, for example, who would have been the most important Jewish figure?
But we got sources about Jesus. I'm not talking about Josephus either. You talking jackass. If you had just done a 5-second Google search, Tacitus. Tacitus was a member of the Quindecimvirate, whatever, a council of priests whose duty was to supervise foreign religious culture in Rome. Rome. Do you see that? You see that? Wait a minute. Bart Erhman said this. Wait a minute. Bart Erhman says Tacitus' report confirms what we know from other sources, that Jesus. So Bart Erhman admits Tacitus spoke of Jesus. So Aron Ra, you've been caught with your hand in the cookie jar. You liar. You bald-faced, lying, long-haired hippie bitch. Eeyaw! Maybe that was the baby Balin had a talking ass. Jackass. We got a talking jackass on YouTube. Screw you.